My name is Elena Thorne, and I just turned 18. At my birthday party last night, my father pulled me aside and spoke quietly, like it was nothing important. When this is over, you're going to sign some papers for your Uncle Victor. Just a formality. I smiled. I nodded. Then I walked into the kitchen, opened my laptop, and calmly transferred every dollar of my multi-million inheritance from my grandparents into an irrevocable trust, just in case. The next morning, everything changed. The cabin, the savings, the investments, all of it was locked behind a legal wall no one in my family could touch. My father went pale. My uncle, who had already signed a deal to sell property he didn't even own, started calling lawyers. Before I tell you what happened next, take a second to like and subscribe. Drop your city and local time below. I love seeing where everyone's listening from. Now let me take you back 6 years, to a summer by Silverwood Lake, when my grandfather said something I didn't understand until last night. The summer I turned 12, my grandfather, Arthur Thorne, picked me up in his old truck and drove me nearly an hour out to the lake. The cabin sat tucked away from the shore, surrounded by tall white pines that swallowed the afternoon light. The porch leaned slightly to one side, the screen door never quite closed right. Inside, it smelled like smoke, old pages, and something faintly sweet I could never name. "Grab the other end," Grandpa said, lifting a wooden rail. I did. We spent the entire morning replacing rotted fence posts along the southern edge of the property. He didn't rush me. He showed me how to press my thumb into the wood to check for softness. "If it gives," he said, "it's finished." Inside, Grandma Evelyn had iced tea and sandwiches waiting on the kitchen table, the one Grandpa built the year they got married. Later, she sat on the porch reading. When I stepped outside, she tapped the chair beside her. We watched the lake together until the sky turned gold. That evening, Grandpa brushed sawdust from his hands and looked at me. "This cabin stays in the family," he said. Then after a pause, "But family isn't always blood, Elena. Family is the people who show up." I didn't really understand. I was 12. I thought he was just being poetic. He wasn't. That whole summer, I kept going back every weekend. I learned everything. Where the water heater leaked, which window stuck in the humidity, how to bleed the radiator before winter. In October, Grandma showed me how to arrange books by color because it made the room feel warmer. Grandpa walked me along the edges of the land, pointing out the old iron stakes he had driven into the ground himself. What I didn't know was that he was already speaking to a lawyer. About that cabin. About me. Back home, things felt different. Our house in Brookhaven wasn't bad, it just wasn't warm. 3 bedrooms. A small yard that always needed mowing. A garage my father used as an office for his hardware business. Everything was fine. Just fine. My younger sister, Lila, was 10 and had the bigger room. It had been redone the previous spring. Soft violet walls, new furniture, a desk lamp that probably cost more than everything in my room combined. My carpet still belonged to whoever lived there before us. One night at dinner, my father brought up the cabin. "That place is just sitting there losing value," he said, slicing into a steak. "The taxes alone are a burden. We should sell it. Put the money into something smarter." My mother nodded. "That makes sense." "Grandpa said it stays in the family," I said quietly. My father laughed. Not a harsh laugh. Something worse, dismissive. "You were a kid, Elena." He was being nice. No one asked anything else. The conversation moved on to Lila's debate competition, regional finalist. My mother had already framed her certificate. 2 weeks earlier, I had won the district science fair. The ribbon was still sitting in my backpack. After dinner, I cleared the plates. On the counter, partly hidden beneath a grocery list, I noticed a glossy brochure. Lakeview Ridge, Development Luxury Waterfront Properties Now Acquiring. There was a phone number scribbled in the margin. Not my father's handwriting. I placed the flyer back exactly where it had been. Upstairs, I sat on my bed and stared at the wall. And all I could think about was my grandfather's kitchen table. The one he built with his own hands. The one where my grandmother always placed my sandwich in front of me without asking what I wanted. Because she already knew. I think about the flyer downstairs. Someone is already measuring my grandparents' home in dollar signs. My grandfather, Arthur Thorne, dies 2 years later. I'm 14. The funeral is on a Tuesday. Gray sky, damp grass, folding chairs sinking into the lawn. I sit in the second row, holding his handkerchief, blue plaid, worn at the edges, still carrying that faint pine scent. At the reception, I notice my father and his brother, Uncle Victor, standing near the dessert table. They're not eating, just talking quietly. Victor has a folder tucked under his arm. My father keeps nodding. I catch one sentence. We should move on this before probate gets complicated. They're talking about the cabin. At the funeral, I say nothing. I'm 14. I have no power, no voice, and no idea my grandfather already planned for this exact moment. 2 years pass. I'm 16 when my grandmother, Evelyn, gets sick in March. By June, she's gone. The last time I see her, she takes my hand. Her grip is still strong. The cabin is yours, Elena, she whispers. Don't let them take it. Promise me. I promise, Grandma. She squeezes my hand once, then closes her eyes. After her funeral, another gray day, the same sinking chairs, my father sits at the kitchen table and says to my mother, "Now we can finally sort out the property." He sounds relieved, like something heavy has been lifted. That same evening, Victor calls. I hear my father in the garage, pacing as he talks on the phone. "Yeah, no, I agree. Let's get it moving." His voice is lighter than it's been in weeks. I'm standing in the hallway, holding a glass of water, when something settles inside my chest. Cold. Heavy. My grandmother's death isn't a loss to them. It's clearance. I don't cry that night. I make a different kind of decision. I just don't know how to act on it yet. Between 16 and almost 18, the cabin becomes my quiet rebellion. Every Saturday morning, I drive out to Silverwood Lake in the used Honda I bought with babysitting money. I fix things, patch the porch screen, replace the weather stripping on the back door, sweep pine needles off the roof, because Grandpa taught me that's how leaks begin. At home, the language starts to change. The cabin stops being Grandpa's place. It becomes the family property. My father says it at dinner like it's always been that way. Victor starts coming over more often. Every other Sunday. Sometimes carrying folders. Sometimes a laptop open to real estate listings. I try to speak up once. What about Grandma's wish? She wanted me to keep it. My mother sets her fork down gently, the same way she does before correcting my sister's homework. Your grandmother was emotional at the end, sweetie. This is business. Business. That's the word they use now. For everything that used to be love. By 17, my father stops being subtle. When you turn 18, he says one night, we'll figure this out as a family. The way he says family, I understand what it really means. His way. One cold afternoon in November, I'm alone at the cabin, clearing out the hallway closet. Behind a stack of old quilts, I find a sealed envelope. My grandmother's handwriting. My name on the front. Inside, there's only a business card. Margaret Caldwell, attorney at Law T, Thorne Family Trust. My hands start to shake. Not from fear. From recognition. Grandma left this for me. She knew I'd be the one cleaning closets. Not my father. Not Victor. Me. I slip the card into my wallet. I don't call. Not yet. 3 months before my 18th birthday, Margaret Caldwell calls me first. It's a Thursday evening in February. I'm in my room doing calculus homework when my phone lights up with an unknown local number. Elena, this is Margaret Caldwell. I was your grandparents' attorney. Her voice is calm. Careful. Practiced. I need to speak with you before your birthday. There are things you need to know, and there isn't much time. The following Saturday, I go to her office. Alone. Margaret Caldwell is in her late 50s, silver hair pulled back, reading glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. Her office is small, neat, and smells like paper and coffee. She sits across from me and opens a folder. Your grandparents hired me 6 years ago, she says. They established an irrevocable trust. She looks directly at me. The cabin, a savings account, and an investment portfolio all placed inside it. She pauses. Total value, approximately $2.1 million. All of it, she says quietly, belongs to you. You are the sole beneficiary. For a second, the room tilts. My grandparents left me everything. They moved it into the trust while they were still alive. Legally, it never became part of their estate. It can't go through probate. My father and uncle? I ask. Margaret shakes her head. They have no claim. She slides a document across the desk. A summary of the trust. My name is on the second line. The cabin title was recorded under the trust at the county recorder's office 6 years ago, she says. Your father doesn't know that. Why didn't they tell him? Margaret pauses, then answers carefully. Your grandfather said, and I'm quoting, my sons will sell that cabin before the funeral flowers wilt. The room goes quiet. I stare at the paper, my name printed there like something permanent. There's something else, Margaret adds. She tells me someone has been making inquiries at the county recorder's office about the cabin's title within the last month. After that meeting, I start paying attention. Not obviously, just quietly. The next Sunday, Uncle Victor comes over for dinner. Afterward, he and my father disappear into the garage. The door stays slightly open. Not enough to see, but enough to hear. Victor's voice comes first. I already signed the purchase agreement with Ridgeline. $450. But we need the title clean before closing. My father, how do we get it clean? Quitclaim deed. Dad's gone. Mom's gone. We're the legal heirs. We transfer it to ourselves, record it, then sell. A pause. Is that legal? It's standard between heirs. No one's going to question it. Silence. Then my father, quieter now. What about Elena? My chest tightens. Victor answers immediately, like he's rehearsed it. She's 17. She can't do anything. By the time she's 18, the sale's already done. Another pause. She'll be upset. She'll get over it. We'll give her a cut. 50 grand for college. She should be grateful. I step back from the door. My hands are cold. Victor has already signed a purchase agreement. $450,000 for a cabin he doesn't own, on land held in a trust he doesn't even know exists. That night, I sit on my bed and text Margaret 2 words. They're accelerating. Her reply comes 3 minutes later. I expected that. Come see me Saturday. We'll prepare everything you need. I stare at the ceiling after that. In the next room, my sister Lila is laughing at something on TV. Downstairs, my parents are loading the dishwasher, talking about weekend plans like nothing is happening. And somewhere in Victor's folder, there's a contract that's already worthless. He just doesn't know it yet. Saturday, Margaret's office. She lays everything out on a legal pad, drawing lines between dates like it's a battle strategy. The cabin title is already under the trust, she explains. If Victor files a quitclaim deed, the county recorder should reject it. The chain of title won't match. Your grandparents haven't legally owned the property for 6 years. I nod. But, she continues, if he submits additional documents, an affidavit of heirship, possibly even falsified paperwork, he could create what's called a cloud on title. What does that mean? It wouldn't give him ownership, she says, but it could tie the property up in litigation for a year or more. So I have to act first. You have to act on time. She taps the calendar. The moment you turn 18, you become a legal adult. You can formally accept your role as successor beneficiary. Once you sign, I'll file a lease pendens, a public notice of your legal interest, at the county recorder's office first thing the next morning. She looks straight at me. That freezes the title. No one can record anything against it. I take a breath. What do I need to do? Show up, she says. Sign one document. I'll handle the rest. I sit with that for a moment. Should I tell my parents? Margaret slowly removes her glasses. Your grandfather asked me to protect you, she says. Not to negotiate with them. When I get home, my father is in the kitchen. He looks cheerful. Good news, kiddo, he says. I'm throwing you a birthday party. Whole family. Saturday night. Big 118. He smiles. My mother smiles. Even Lila claps. I smile too. My father is planning my birthday party. My uncle is planning to sell my grandmother's cabin. And I'm sitting at the kitchen table, smiling. Because in 9 days, I'm going to let them believe everything is going exactly according to their plan. I'm going to be honest with you. Sitting in my room that night, knowing what was coming, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Part of me wanted to walk downstairs and just say it. Dad, I know. But Margaret was right. If I tipped them off, they'd find another way around it. So I stayed quiet, and I waited. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had to stay silent to protect yourself, even when every part of you wanted to speak? Tell me in the comments. I read them. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because this story is about to turn. 5 days before my birthday, my mom sits down next to me on the couch. She's using her let's talk like adults voice. Soft, controlled, practiced. Now that you're almost 18, she says, there are some family decisions we should make together. Together. The word feels like a costume. The cabin costs money to maintain, she continues. Taxes, insurance, repairs. Your dad's business has been struggling. She pauses, watching my reaction. And if we sell, we could pay off the debt and set up a college fund for you and your sister. Both of you. Grandma wanted me to keep it. Her expression flickers, just for a second. Impatience, quickly smooth over. Your grandmother was very sentimental at the end, Elena. But sentiment doesn't pay property taxes. Right on cue, my father walks in. I wonder if they planned this. I've already talked to a buyer, he says. Good price. Fair deal. Who's the buyer? He hesitates. A development company. Victor knows them. What company? A longer pause. Ridgeline something. They're reputable. I don't push. I'll think about it, I say. He pats my shoulder. That's my girl. He walks away like he's just closed a deal. Later that night, my sister Lila knocks on my door. She's in pajamas, hair still damp from the shower. Elena! Yeah. She sits on the edge of my bed, picking at a loose thread. Mom and Dad keep talking about the cabin at night after I'm supposed to be asleep. I stay quiet. They sound different, she says. Like they're planning something. Different how? Excited, but also nervous. She looks at me carefully. Is something going on? I pull the blanket over her feet. Don't worry about it, Lila. She nods, but I can tell she doesn't believe me. I said I'd think about it. That's not a yes, and they know it, which means they'll keep pushing. 3 days before my birthday, Uncle Victor shows up unannounced. He catches me in the driveway as I'm coming back from the grocery store. Casual clothes, big smile, leaning against his car like he just happened to be nearby. Victor is a real estate agent. Nothing he does is accidental. Hey, kiddo. Got a minute? We sit on the front steps. He leans forward, elbows on his knees. Here's the thing, he says. That lake lot? Just the land alone is worth $450. I can get us a deal with a buyer I trust. Fast close. Clean paperwork. And what do I get? $50,000. Cash. For college. I let the number sit there. 50 out of 450. Victor smiles like I've said something adorable. You're 18, Elena. 50 grand is a lot of money at your age. Most kids would jump at that. I look straight at him. Whose name is on the deed, Uncle Victor? For a split second, his smile freezes. Just a flicker. Then it's gone. Your grandparents, he says smoothly. But they're gone now. It passes to your dad and me. Next of kin. That's not how it works. I know it. He should know it. He sells houses for a living. But he's counting on me not knowing. I'll think about it, I say again. He stands, brushing off his jeans. Don't overthink it, Elena. Opportunities like this don't wait. He walks to his car. Before he even reaches the end of the street, he's already on the phone. I can see his mouth moving through the window. That night, I text Margaret again. They're accelerating. Her reply comes quickly. Stay the course. 3 more days. 3 more days. I can do 3 more days. The night before my birthday, I drive out to Silverwood Lake alone. The road is empty. The water is still, dark under a half moon. The pines stand like shadows against the sky. I park in the gravel patch my grandfather leveled himself. Walk up the porch steps. The wood creaks under my feet, exactly the way it always has. And for the first time in days, everything feels quiet. The second chair still creaks when I sit down. I lower myself into the one beside where my grandfather used to sit. The air smells like rain and pine resin, the same way it always has. I open my email. Margaret has sent everything. The full document package. Acceptance of successor beneficiary form. Beneficiary confirmation. A 1-page summary of the trust terms. All of it neatly formatted. Flagged. Ready. For one thing. My signature. At midnight, I read every document twice. Then I close my laptop and just listen to the lake. I can almost hear my grandfather's voice. Patience isn't weakness, Elena. It's timing. I always thought he meant fishing. The tears come quietly. Not a breakdown. Not a collapse. Just something steady overflowing. I cry because I wish things were different. I wish my father had been the kind of man who brought me here to fish instead of calculating how much the land was worth. I wish my mother had asked me what I wanted, instead of telling me what made sense. I wish I didn't have to sit here, signing legal documents at midnight just to protect myself from my own family. But wishes don't hold up in court. Trust documents do. I wipe my face, lock the cabin door, drive home, lie down, set my alarm for 11:45 p.m. In 6 hours, I turn 18. In 7, my family finds out the truth. 11:50 p.m. My bedroom door is closed. The house is silent. My parents went to bed an hour ago. My sister Lila turned her lights off at 10. I open my laptop, join the video call. Margaret appears on screen, sitting in her home office, glasses low on her nose, papers spread out under a desk lamp. "Ready?" she asks. "Ready." When the clock hits midnight, she nods. "You are now a legal adult in every sense that matters. I'll walk you through the signing." Her voice is calm, precise, step by step. I sign the acceptance of successor beneficiary form. 1 page. That's all it takes. From that moment forward, every decision about the trust runs through me and Margaret. "Tomorrow morning," she says, 8 a.m., I'll go to the county recorder's office and file a lease pendens. "A public notice," she explains, "that there's a legal interest tied to the property. Once it's recorded, no one can sell, transfer, or touch the title." "What if they've already filed something?" "Then it gets flagged," she says. "The chain of title will show the trust was recorded 6 years ago. Not your father, not your uncle. Any conflicting document gets rejected." I look down at the paper in my hand. My name in ink. My grandparents' names printed above it. Margaret's voice softens just slightly. "This isn't a trick, Elena. This is your grandfather's last gift." She pauses. "You just had to be old enough to accept it." 12:03 a.m. I'm 18. I am the legal beneficiary of the Thorne Family Irrevocable Trust. And somewhere downstairs, my uncle's plan is already dead. He just doesn't know it yet. Across town, in a rented duplex kitchen, Uncle Victor is printing documents. I don't know this at the time. I piece it together later from what the county clerk tells Margaret and from what my father eventually admits during one of our harder conversations. But this is what happened that same night. While I was signing my acceptance form, Victor printed a quitclaim deed, a single-page document used to transfer property rights, perfectly legal when used correctly, completely fraudulent when the person signing it doesn't own the property. At 11:30 p.m., he called my father. "Everything's ready," Victor said. "We file at 9. The recorder's office opens at 8, but I want Elena distracted with birthday stuff first." My father hesitated. "You sure about this?" "They're gone," Victor said. "We're next of kin. It's simple." It wasn't simple. It was forgery, dressed up in legal language. On Victor's laptop, there was a second document open. A purchase agreement. Buyer, Ridgeline Development, LLC. Purchase price, $450,000. Closing date, 30 days after recording the quitclaim deed. A deal built on something that didn't exist. Ownership he never had. A sale that was never going to happen. And in less than 9 hours, he was going to find out. If Uncle Victor couldn't deliver a clean title within that window, he'd owe Ridgeline a $45,000 penalty, plus additional damages. He had signed that agreement 2 months earlier, before the title had even been properly searched, before confirming whether the property was actually part of the estate. He assumed it was. He assumed no one had planned otherwise. Victor had just bet nearly $500,000 on something that was never his. He just didn't know it yet. And in 9 hours, when he walked into the county recorder's office with his quitclaim deed and that confident handshake, he was going to learn the truth. My birthday party starts at 4 in the afternoon. The living room fills with people, maybe 20, neighbors, a few of my parents' church friends, 2 of my father's old business contacts, my sister Lila's best friend and her family. Even Mrs. Beckett, the neighbor from the cabin, is there, sitting by the window with a glass of lemonade, watching everything with sharp, quiet attention. There are balloons, a silver banner that reads Happy 18th, a sheet cake from the bakery on Main Street. I smile. I thank everyone. I open small gifts, a journal, a gift card, a picture frame. In my jacket pocket, folded neatly, is the signed acceptance form from the night before. I don't touch it. I don't need to. It's already done. My father stands near the cake table and taps his glass. The room quiets. I just want to say, he begins. Elena is officially an adult today. Denise and I are so proud of her. He looks around the room. And as a family, we have some exciting plans for the future. Then he looks at me. Right, Elena? Every face turns. Thanks, Dad, I say. Nothing more. He pauses, waiting for something else. When it doesn't come, he laughs it off and raises his glass. The room follows. Conversation starts again. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Uncle Victor near the door, checking his phone, typing quickly. As I pass by the window, Mrs. Beckett gently catches my arm. She leans in, her voice low. Your grandmother would want you to know something. I listen. I saw your uncle at the cabin last week, she says. He was with two men in suits. They were measuring the property line. My chest tightens. He brought the buyers there, before he even had the title. That's how certain he was. After the cake is cut and plates are passed around, my father stands again. This time his voice is louder, deliberate, the kind of voice meant for an audience. Before we wrap up, he says, I want to share something with everyone. He places a hand on my mother's shoulder. Our family has been going through a difficult time financially. Some of you know about the store. Soft murmurs ripple through the room. But my parents, Arthur and Evelyn, they left us something. He pauses. The cabin at Silverwood Lake. My stomach tightens. And as a family, he continues, we've decided to sell it, to secure everyone's future. We've decided. The words hit cold. He looks straight at me. Elena understands. She knows this is what's best for all of us. Right, sweetheart? The room goes still. Every eye finds me. Neighbors who watched me grow up. Mrs. Beckett by the window. Lila half hidden behind the couch. My mother adds, softly, smiling, it's what responsible families do. We sacrifice for each other. I set my fork down. The small clink echoes louder than it should. I never agreed to sell the cabin, Dad. My father's smile doesn't drop, but something tightens in his jaw. She's kidding, he says quickly. Birthday nerves. I'm not kidding. Victor steps forward from the doorway. Come on, Elena, he says. This isn't the time or place. I pick up my glass of water. Take a slow sip. Set it down carefully. You're right, Uncle Victor, I say calmly. This isn't the time. I meet his eyes. The time was 8 a.m. this morning. Silence. Heavy. Absolute. Victor's phone buzzes in his pocket. He doesn't check it. No one moves. People start leaving after that. Polite smiles. Quick goodbyes. The kind of exit people make when they can feel something breaking, but don't want to be there when it does. Within 30 minutes, the room is nearly empty. Just family, Mrs. Beckett, and two neighbors who linger awkwardly, unsure whether to stay or go. And the storm finally begins. Denise waits until the front door closes behind the last guest. Then she turns on me in the kitchen. Her voice is controlled, but loud enough to carry. Do you have any idea what your father is going through? She steps closer. He could lose this house, Elena. Our house. The one you sleep in every night. Her eyes lock onto mine. And you're holding onto a cabin you visit on weekends. I go every weekend, Mom. That's not the point. She presses her palms flat against the counter. We are a family. Families make decisions together. A pause. And if you love this family, you wouldn't need a lawyer to tell you what to do. The room goes still. I stare at her. How do you know about a lawyer? Denise doesn't hesitate. Victor found the business card in your bag last week. Margaret Caldwell. Who is she, Elena? My stomach drops. Not fear. Realization. They've been going through my things. Looking for leverage. Before I can answer, a voice cuts in from the doorway. Calm. Firm. That girl has every right to speak to a lawyer, Denise. It's Mrs. Beckett. Evelyn would have wanted that. My mother turns sharply. This is a family matter, Nora. Please. But Mrs. Beckett doesn't move. She looks at me, then back at my mother. I was her friend for 40 years, she says quietly. I think I know what she wanted. The silence between them feels sharp enough to break. I don't say anything. I don't need to. Not yet. Mrs. Beckett leaves. The last two neighbors follow her out with quiet, uncomfortable goodbyes. Now it's just us. My father, my mother, Uncle Victor, my sister Lila, and me. My father closes the kitchen door. The fluorescent light hums overhead. He pulls out a chair, sits down, folds his hands like a man about to lay out terms. Here's what's going to happen, Elena. His voice is low, controlled. Tomorrow morning, Victor and I go to the county office. We file the paperwork. The cabin sells. A pause. You get your share. A fair share. And we move forward as a family. What's my share? 50,000. Out of how much? He doesn't answer. Victor does. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I look back at my father. And if I say no? His jaw tightens. If you fight this, you're on your own. A beat. No help with college. No living under this roof. The kitchen goes very quiet. A single drop from the faucet echoes. You're threatening to kick me out on my 18th birthday. I'm asking you, he says, to be part of his family. I push my chair back. Stand. My voice stays steady, even if my hands don't. I am part of his family, Dad. I meet his eyes. I'm the part that keeps promises. I walk past Victor, past Lila, sitting on the stairs, knees pulled to her chest. And I go upstairs. I close my door, sit on the edge of my bed, breathe. My father thinks his deadline is 9 a.m. He doesn't know Margaret's is 8 o'clock. I sit there holding the acceptance form I already signed at midnight. My father just threatened to cut me off. My mother said I didn't love them. My uncle is planning to file a forged deed in the morning. And all I can think is, my grandmother knew. She knew exactly who they would become, the moment money entered the room. And she planned for it years in advance. If someone you loved ever prepared something to protect you, even after they were gone, I want to hear about it. Tell me in the comments. Now let me tell you what happened next. 8 a.m. The county recorder's office opens. Fluorescent lights flicker on. A clerk in a blue cardigan unlocks the front counter. Margaret Caldwell is the first person through the door. Gray blazer, leather folder in hand. Calm, prepared, she steps up to the counter and presents 2 documents. A certified copy of the Thorne Family Irrevocable Trust and a lease pendens notice. She requests both be recorded against the Silverwood Lake property. The clerk reviews the paperwork, checks the title records, sees the truth already sitting there. 6 years old, untouched, unbreakable. Stamp, recorded, done. From that moment on, anyone who pulls the title sees it clearly. Thorne Family Irrevocable Trust, Margaret Caldwell, Trustee Elena Thorne, beneficiary. 8:14 a.m. The clock starts ticking. And somewhere across town, Uncle Victor is about to walk into a situation he no longer controls. Margaret calls me. It's done, she says. The lease pendens is recorded. The property is flagged. Whatever they bring in will be rejected on chain of title grounds. I'm sitting at the kitchen table eating cereal. Upstairs, my father is getting dressed. My mother is making coffee. Normal sounds. Running water. Closet doors. The quiet clink of a belt buckle. At 8:30, my father and Uncle Victor come downstairs together. My father is wearing his business shirt, the one he used to wear to bank meetings before the store started failing. Victor has the folder under his arm. The same one. Back by lunch, my father says, grabbing his keys. I look up. Good luck, I say. He pauses, just for a second. Something in my voice, or maybe my face. Then he turns and walks out. I rinse my bowl, dry it, put it away, and wait. I'll never know exactly what their faces looked like, but I know what happened, because Margaret stayed at the recorder's office. On purpose. 9:05 a.m. Victor steps up to the counter, slides the quitclaim deed across with a confident nod. My father stands behind him, hands in his pockets, scanning the room like they'll be done in 10 minutes. The clerk takes the document, types in the parcel number, reads the screen, types again, then stops. I can't record this document, sir. Victor leans forward. Excuse me. The property title is held under the Thorne Family Irrevocable Trust, she says. Recorded in 2020. There's also a lease pendens filed this morning. That's impossible, Victor says. My parents own that property. Sir, the deed was transferred to the trust 6 years ago. The chain of title is clear. This quitclaim doesn't match the current ownership. My father steps forward. There is no trust. Our parents never mentioned a trust. The clerk looks between them. I recommend you speak with the trustee listed on the filing. A pause. Margaret Caldwell. Victor's hand goes flat against the counter. His face drains. That name, the one from the card they found in my bag, is now public record. Permanent. My father turns slowly. You said this was simple. I didn't know about any trust. You're a real estate agent, Victor. My father snaps. How did you not check the title first? Victor opens his mouth. Closes it. Tries again. Nothing comes out. Gentlemen, the clerk says calmly, you'll need to step outside if there's a disagreement. Margaret sits in the waiting area. Watching. Silent. She doesn't need to say anything. The call comes at 9:22 a.m. I'm sitting on the porch, watching the neighbor's sprinkler sweep across the lawn. Back and forth. Back and forth. What did you do? My father's voice is tight. Shaking. Traffic noise behind him. Parking lot. I accepted what Grandpa and Grandma left me, I say. That's all. You went behind our backs with some lawyer we've never even heard of. Margaret Caldwell has been their attorney for 6 years, Dad. A pause. You just never asked. Silence. Heavy breathing. This is my parents' property, he says. I'm their son, and they chose to leave it to me. I keep my voice steady. Not because they didn't love you, a breath, but because they didn't trust you with it. The silence that follows, it stretches, longer than anything. I count the sprinkler arcs. 1, 2, 3. We'll fight this, he says finally. You can try, I reply. But the trust is irrevocable. Even I can't undo it. You don't know what you're talking about. I do, Dad. A pause. I've had 3 months to learn. He hangs up. No goodbye. Just silence. I set the phone down on the porch railing. My hands are shaking. Not from fear. Not from anger. From the weight of what I just said. From knowing that the man who once taught me how to ride a bike is the same man who tried to sell my grandmother's home out from under me. I sit there until the shaking stops. It takes a while. Then my phone buzzes again. Unknown number. I answer. A man's voice. Calm. Professional. Miss Thorne, this is Carter Briggs from Ridgeline Development. We need to talk. Carter Briggs speaks the way developers do. Fast, precise, already thinking 3 steps ahead. We have a purchase agreement with Victor Thorne for the Silverwood Lake property, he says. He guaranteed clean title. We've just been informed there's a lease pendens on the parcel. That's correct. A pause. Can you explain the situation, Miss Thorne? My uncle doesn't own that property, I say evenly. He never did. The cabin and land have been held in an irrevocable trust since 2020. I'm the sole beneficiary. Silence. Papers shifting on his end. He represented himself as the heir. I understand, I reply, but representation doesn't create ownership. You should speak with him and your attorney. Another pause. Longer this time. Is there any possibility of a sale? Carter asks. We're prepared to make a competitive offer directly to the trust. The property is not for sale. A shift in tone. Harder. Understood. Then we'll be pursuing our remedies against Mr. Thorne. I give him Margaret's number. Within the hour, she confirms everything to Ridgeline's legal team. The trust is valid. Victor had no authority. The agreement was built on misrepresentation. Ridgeline responds immediately. They're suing Victor. $45,000 penalty, plus damages. That afternoon, Margaret calls again. Her voice is careful this time. Elena, there's something else. I sit up straighter. The quitclaim deed your uncle tried to file, it had a notary stamp. And I had the recorder's office pull a copy before it was rejected. A pause. The stamp doesn't match any registered notary in the county. My chest tightens. It appears to be forged. I close my eyes. That's a felony, isn't it? In this state, she says quietly. Yes. My uncle didn't just try to take the cabin. He broke the law trying to do it. My father comes home at 2 p.m. He moves like a man, carrying something heavy you can't see. My mother is already in the kitchen, arms crossed, face flushed from what looks like an hour of crying. I'm at the dining table. I don't stand. My father sits across from me, stares at the table for a long time. Then, I'm going to lose this house, Elena. His voice is flat, empty. The bank is on me for $180,000. The store is gone. That cabin, that was our way out. I know you're struggling, Dad. I say softly. I'm sorry about the business. Then help us. The cabin was never your way out, I say. It was Grandma and Grandpa's gift to me. A gift, he almost laughs. For what? You're 18. What does an 18-year-old need with a lakefront cabin? It's not about what I need, I say. It's about what they wanted. My mother steps forward. They were old, Elena. They weren't thinking clearly at the end. They were thinking clearly enough, I reply, to hire a lawyer 6 years before they died. My father slams his hand on the table. I'll contest the trust. A voice answers from my phone. Calm. Steady. Mr. Thorne. Margaret. I had called her before he walked in. Left the line open. Not to trap him. To save time. Contesting an irrevocable trust established 6 years prior to the grantor's deaths, she continues, with full legal capacity documented and witnessed will cost more in legal fees than the property is worth. A pause. I strongly advise against it. The kitchen goes silent. Even the faucet seems louder. My father looks at me. Really looks. And for the first time, I see something new in his eyes. Not anger. Not control. Recognition. 2 hours later, the phone rings. My father answers in the living room. I stand in the hallway, close enough to hear everything. Ridgeline is suing me. Victor's voice is broken. Raw. $45,000 in penalties, plus damages. They're saying I committed fraud. My father's voice is colder than I've ever heard it. Did you? I thought we owned it. A pause. Then, you're a real estate agent, my father says. You run title searches for a living. How did you not check? I assumed. You assumed. Another pause. And now I'm sitting here with nothing because you assumed. You wanted the money too, Victor snaps. A beat. Then my father. Quiet. Dead calm. But I didn't forge a notary stamp. Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. For the first time, there's no deal left to make. No angle to play. No version of this where they win. Only consequences. I didn't forge it. I just found a stamp. And that's forgery, I say quietly. You know that's forgery. Victor's breathing gets heavier on the other end. I need a lawyer. So do I. A pause. My father's voice cuts in, sharp and final. Don't call this house again until you've spoken to one. Click. The line goes dead. I hear my father sit down on the couch downstairs. The springs creak under his weight. Then nothing. I go upstairs. My sister Lila's door is open. She's sitting on her bed with headphones around her neck, eyes wide. Is Uncle Victor in trouble? She asks. Yes, Lila. He is. Is Dad? I sit beside her. Dad made bad choices, I say carefully. But Uncle Victor made worse ones. She nods slowly, not fully understanding, but understanding enough to be scared. I go to my room, sit by the window. A dog walker passes. A sprinkler hisses across the street. Life continues like nothing happened. I don't feel victorious. I don't feel satisfied. I feel like someone who just walked through fire and hasn't checked yet what got burned. Over the next 3 weeks, the consequences arrive like falling dominoes. Each one makes a sound. Each one lands harder than the last. Ridgeline Development files a civil lawsuit against Victor Thorne. Breach of contract. Misrepresentation of title. Demand for $45,000 penalty plus $60,000 in damages and legal costs. The complaint arrives at his duplex by certified mail. He signs for it on a Tuesday. The county district attorney receives a referral from the recorder's office. Forgery investigation. A case file is opened. An investigator is assigned. Victor's real estate license is suspended pending review. His income stops overnight. And the town starts talking. Not because I say anything. I don't. But court filings are public. And Ridgeline's lawsuit includes the parcel number. People notice. People always notice. By the second week, it spreads. The Rotary Club. The church parking lot. The checkout line at Hanson's Market. Victor calls me once. I answer. Elena, please, he says quickly. Can you ask your lawyer to drop the lease pendens? If the title clears, I might be able to negotiate with Ridgeline. Reduce the penalty. The lease pendants protects the property, I say. It stays. A pause. Your grandparents would be ashamed of you, he snaps. I let the silence sit there. Then I answer softly. My grandparents are the ones who set this up. They chose this. They chose me. I don't think shame is what they'd feel. He hangs up. I set my phone down. Look at the wall. There's a framed photo on my desk. My grandfather and me. Summer. Cedar Lake. The fence we rebuilt together. I don't move it. My father doesn't contest the trust. Margaret was right, he can't. The structure is airtight, irrevocable, properly executed, years before either death. There is nothing to argue against, only something to accept. Instead, my father does what he should have done years ago. He sells the building supply store. At a loss, but enough to keep the bank from taking everything. The house barely stays. The savings don't. My mother goes back to work. A pharmacy on Lincoln Avenue. The same chain she worked at before my sister was born. She doesn't talk about it. When people ask, she says she wanted something to do. Nobody believes her. Nobody pushes. The town knows. Not everything. But enough. Harold Thorne's sons tried to sell a cabin. The granddaughter stopped them. That becomes the story. At diners. At PDA meetings. At gas stations on Route 12. Some people call it bravery. Some call it cruelty. I don't correct either version. My father and I don't speak for 2 weeks. The house feels different now. Not loud. Not tense. Just permanently quiet. Like the silence moved in and decided to stay. One afternoon, Mrs. Beckett brings me apple pie. Still warm. She sets it on my desk. Your parents made their choices, she says. But they're still your parents. Don't carry their shame. I nod. That evening, my sister calls. She's at a friend's house. Her voice is smaller than usual. Kelsey's voice is small. Elena, yeah? A pause. I don't understand everything that happened, she says quietly, but I'm sorry they put you through this. My throat tightens. Thanks, Kelsey. Are you okay? I breathe in slowly. I'm getting there. I drive to the cabin on a Saturday morning in late April. The dogwoods along the lake road are blooming, white and pale pink against the dark water. The kind of beauty that doesn't ask permission to exist. I unlock the front door with the same key my grandfather gave me when I was 14. In case you ever need to get in when we're not here. I didn't understand then. Now I do. The cabin smells unchanged. Pine. Old books. That faint sweetness I've never been able to name. Maybe it's the wood itself. Years of sun and rain soaked into the walls. I walk slowly through every room. The kitchen table he built. Still solid. Grandma's shelves. Still color organized. The bedroom where she read to me when I was small. The porch where Grandpa and I watched the lake turn gold. Everything is exactly as I left it. Except me. In the desk drawer by the window, I find an envelope. My name on the front. Grandpa Harold's handwriting. I don't need to ask how it got there. Margaret already told me it would be. I open it carefully. 1 page. Blue ink. His handwriting looser near the end, like it always got when he was tired. He writes that he knows his sons will try to sell the cabin. He doesn't blame them. Greg is my boy. I love him. But love, he says, is not the same as judgment. Greg never learned the difference between something that has value and something that is valuable. Then the line that stays with me. I chose you not because you are perfect, but because you are the one who asked if the roof needed fixing before you ever asked what it was worth. The last sentence is simple. Take care of it. It took care of you first. I fold the letter, sit on the porch, and breathe. The following week, Margaret calls. Good news, she says. The lease pendens can be withdrawn now that there's no active threat to title. Once it's cleared, the record will show the trust as sole owner. Clean. No encumbrances. I nod, even though she can't see me. And Victor. A pause. He settled with Ridge Line, she says. Pay the $45,000 through a personal loan. The deal is dead. Another pause. As for the forged notary stamp, the district attorney is reviewing it. He may face charges, misdemeanor or felony depending on findings. His license is suspended indefinitely. I don't respond right away. It doesn't feel like victory. It feels like the end of a very long noise. There's one more thing, Margaret adds. My breath catches slightly. In the trust, she says, your grandparents also established a separate educational fund. $50,000, earmarked for college. It's been accruing interest for 6 years. A pause. The current balance is just over $58,000. My eyes sting. 50,000. The exact number. The same number my father offered like a compromise. The same number Victor called generosity. My grandparents had already decided. Quietly. Without negotiation. Without argument. without anyone else in the room. "Are you there?" Margaret asks. "Yeah," I say softly. "I'm here." "You should know," she says. "Your grandparents would be proud." I swallow. "I just kept a promise," I reply. I enroll at Richmond Community College that week. Environmental science. Minor in forestry. The campus is 20 minutes from the cabin. Closer than my parents' house. Closer than anything that ever felt like home but wasn't. I fill out the housing form. Under current address, I write the cabin. For the first time, it feels less like writing an address, and more like admitting the truth. I meet my parents at a coffee shop on Birch Street. Neutral ground. Not home. Not memory. Not conflict territory. Just a table. Just 3 cups of coffee. They arrive together. My father is wearing an old flannel. One I haven't seen in years. One I recognize instantly. From Grandpa. My mother holds her purse tightly in her lap, like she's bracing for something. We sit. Order. Wait. When the cups are placed on the table, I speak. "I love you," I say. Both of them. I need you to know that first, because what I'm about to say might not sound like it. My mother nods slowly. My father doesn't speak. The cabin is not for sale. A pause. Not now. Not ever. I look at them both, and I won't be made to feel guilty for keeping a promise I made to Grandma. Peace doesn't come from revenge. It comes from something quieter than that. Something steadier. A promise she trusted me to keep because she didn't think anyone else would. Greg stares down into his coffee. The steam rises between his hands like a barrier he doesn't know how to cross. "I'm not cutting you out of my life," I say after a moment. My voice is calm. Not cold, just clear. But if we're going to have a relationship, it has to be built on respect. I pause. Not on what I can give you financially. Not on guilt. Not on the idea that I owe you something just because you're my parents. Denise shifts in her seat. "We just wanted what was best for her." Then start by being honest about what happened. I look at her. "You tried to sell something that wasn't yours. You went through my things. You threatened to kick me out." Her mouth opens, then closes again. Greg still hasn't looked up. When he finally speaks, his voice is rough. "I don't know how to fix this." "You don't have to fix it today," I say. I stand. Leave enough cash on the table for all 3 coffees. "I'll call you Sunday." Greg nods. Just once. Small. Heavy. I walk out into the sunlight. And for now, that's enough. Kelsey shows up at the cabin on a Sunday afternoon in May. She's holding a pizza box and wearing an oversized hoodie that's seen too many years and too many washes. "I brought lunch," she says. "Hope you like pepperoni." "Always." We sit on the porch with paper plates in our laps. The lake is still. A heron stands in the shallows near the dock, perfectly motionless, like time forgot it was supposed to move. Kelsey eats slowly. She's not really here for pizza. "I didn't know about any of it," she says finally. "I know. Was I part of the problem?" I look at her. 15. Still growing into herself. Still becoming whoever she's going to be. "You were a kid, Kelsey." A pause. "So were we." She nods, then picks at her slice, peeling off a piece of cheese and setting it carefully on the edge of her plate. "It's really beautiful here," she says quietly, looking out at the water. Grandma used to say that every single time she sat in that chair. Kelsey glances at it now. Grandpa's chair. The one he sanded smooth himself. "Can I come back sometimes?" "Anytime." She leans her head against my shoulder. Just for a moment. Then sits up and takes another bite. And we don't talk about lawsuits. We don't talk about trust documents. We don't talk about what broke. We talk about school. About the heron. About whether the dock needs new planks this summer. The cabin didn't just protect property. It made space for something else to begin. Early June. 6 a.m. I sit on the porch with coffee as mist lifts off Cedar Lake. The pines stand sharp against a pale sky. A loon calls out. 2 long notes, and then silence. I didn't win against my family. There's no winning in something like this. Not when the people who hurt you are the same people who were supposed to protect you. There are no trophies for surviving what should never have happened. But I kept a promise. And for the first time in my life, I'm standing somewhere that actually belongs to me. Not because I fought for it, but because someone loved me enough to plan for it long before I ever understood what I was standing on. They saw the storm before I did. They built the shelter before I knew I'd need one. My grandparents couldn't change who my parents were. They couldn't stop the choices they would make. They couldn't remove greed or fear or desperation from people they once raised. But they could do one thing. They could make sure I had ground to stand on. Literally. I think about Grandpa's letter again. The difference between something that has value and something that is valuable. The cabin has both, but only one of them can be measured, and my family spent years chasing the wrong one. I sip my coffee. The mist thins. The lake turns blue. And if you're listening to this, and you feel like nobody is in your corner, hear me. Sometimes protection doesn't look like someone standing in front of you. Sometimes it looks like someone planning for you quietly, years in advance, without telling anyone. And sometimes, all you have to do is show up, sign the paper, and keep the promise. It comes from standing on something solid, and knowing you built your life on it. That's my story. If it made you feel something, anger, relief, hope, or even just a little less alone, then it did what I hoped it would. Now I want to ask you something. If you could protect one thing in your life, a place, a person, a promise, what would it be? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story stayed with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love to have you here for the next one. Check the description for more stories like this.